Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
When I look back on my NFL career, I'll know without a doubt that I gave everything I had to help my teams walk away with a win. There were other players who were more talented, but there was no one who could out-prepare me. And because of that, I have no regrets.
South Carolina whipped us really good on Friday night, and for us to respond the way we did on Saturday taught me a lot about our team.
There's nothing sadder than a broken down old professional athlete at his retirement announcement ceremony, trying to force out the words, the emotions overcoming him, ripping his heart out as he knows that he really doesn't want to walk away, but because of cap reasons and financial reasons, he's being pushed out the door, which probably at the bottom of all this is a reason why Peyton Manning is retiring. They've got to keep the other quarterback before he leaves, and they can't pay him his huge salary at his advanced age. Plus, he is kind of breaking down.
Yeah, I mean, it's
sayonara. Thanks for the memories.
It's not like he could go and help another team out next year. He's doesn't have it anymore. He couldn't throw a ball more than
you put him on
yards.
a team with a great defense, and he can do enough.
That's the truth.
I mean, his reputation is enough to scare most defenses that they've
not really.
They watch tape.
They watch
every
his
game.
arm,
Yeah,
and they say this guy can't get it
well,
done.
Peyton, thanks for the memories. Thanks for that. It was great. No, he was great. He was a great quarterback and great ambassador for the NFL.
And he goes out with a ring. I mean, how many old quarterbacks we've seen hang on too long just to get beat up and staggered?
Now, Joe Montana tried to get that ring one more time and got hammered about a bit.
The saddest thing was to see Johnny Unitas in a San Diego Charger uniform. That was ridiculous. That
was. All right, welcome in. Sports Talk here on a Monday night. What a great weekend. Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, the Professor Tom Hayes, all together. Great weekend behind us. A great week ahead here on Sports Talk. Had the pleasure of hitting up all 3 baseball games over the weekend, though I joined 2 in progress because of time restraints on me. Did get to see all of Sunday's game. Got there for first pitch. Came out, took in Friday night's game as well. Congratulations to Clemson, series champions this year in the Palmetto State. Well deserved. They, except for Friday night, over the weekend, completely dominated South Carolina. Clemson's pitching on Saturday and Sunday was extraordinarily good. And South Carolina had very few chances to really do anything. And, the one opportunity they had on Sunday, they ran out of a chance to score, possibly with a runner being thrown out at third base for the third out of the inning. So things just didn't go their way, and they have to share the blame for that. And you give Clemson a ton of credit for playing a pretty good baseball and not hitting the cover off the ball, but just coming up with hits when they had the opportunities to drive in some runs. So congratulations. Big show for you tonight. We'll recap that. We'll hear from Chad Holbrook, Monty Lee live in our second hour. USC basketball picks up 2 commitments. We'll hear from a coach and we'll hear from a player tonight on that, plus Clemson football and more here on Sports Talk. right, so much to talk about. 800-966-7266, the number. Email talkback at sportstalksc.com and on Twitter at sportstalksc. We will let K-Mac maybe take a look at Twitter tonight and share some stuff with us there if he's of a mind to do so. Always dangerous to venture into the world of Twitter.
What's going to happen there?
I know what's lurking out there for you. If you want to join us, do so here early on because we've got a lot coming up on the program tonight. Of course, basketball-wise, over the weekend, USC, just never know. They go out and build a 27-point lead on Arkansas and weather a storm and get a great win for them. And the way things developed over the weekend, they're the 3rd seed in the SEC. They get a double bye. They don't play until the last game on Friday night. And all of a sudden, things look rosy again. And they do it without their best player. How do you explain that?
I do. I can.
Okay, explain that.
Okay, remember when Missouri's best player was not there and South Carolina went to Missouri and lost? I keep telling you, these teams, especially young teams, they take a test, and it's just like kids when we were in school. Teacher, you didn't tell us this was going to be on the test. In other words, they worked 2 or 3 days in practice working on how to stop Michael Carrera, and then he wasn't there, and they say, wait a minute, what do we do? And they look like deer in the headlights in their own arena.
Another thing that happens sometimes when a big player goes down is everybody else on the team
picks it up,
steps up because they know, wait a minute, those are some minutes that I might get. And he saw that Dobie had his best game of his career. He scored 8 points, well above his average. Thornwell really seemed to take it. He was the aggressor, and sometimes he cedes to other people out there, but he really took the game on, and I thought played one of his better games of the season as well. And that was a good-looking team and a big win. The Gamecocks are in now. They could go and lose in the quarterfinals in the SEC tournament. I think they've done enough. When you get 11 regular season wins, you get a top 3 seed in the SEC tournament. I do think they're in now. Had they lost that game, and they might have been a 7 seed or a 10 seed, then they're really sweating it out right now. But I think they're in good shape now.
Well, right now, according to their brackets today, Jerry Palm has US as a 10 seed playing Notre Dame, with the winner likely to play West Virginia. You know, the committee has a wry sense of humor. They like to do some things. They like to hide some things in there for matchups. So if that were to come to pass, of course, you'd have the best of friends meeting in the second round, Huggins and Martin. If South Carolina were to win and West Virginia were to win, that's what Palm has for South Carolina. Joe Lunardi has USC as a 9 seed playing St. Mary's, the 8 seed in Des Moines, with the winner to get Kansas in the second round. So that's what those experts see. I kind of like what Palm has in terms of the placement of the Gamecocks.
Right, I know that's what
that would be ideal for everybody interested in them.
I thought after the game, and it's something we knew anyway, but you don't see many coaches admit it. But and Frank Martin said it. I lost some confidence in our freshmen. And I was not playing them, but I knew we needed them at some point, and we needed them today, and they came through for us. So that's big for him to admit that he had lost it. And I've always had the feeling after seeing him the couple of times I have that Dobie has deserved more playing time. It's just that, you know, sometimes you get caught in a game, and all the games have been close this year for the most part in the SEC, and you stick with the guys that's been there. That's natural for a coach to do that.
Capping off his weekend, Martin picked up 2 commitments. He got a commitment from a point guard on Sunday night, a player that he offered on Sunday night, and he committed right away, and that is Kareem Felder, that's not his name. Why do I have Kareem Felder in my story? That is not his name.
Wow, that's a pretty egregious error there.
Yeah, that's not good.
Who's Kareem Felder, and why is he in your story?
Well, there was a Kareem Felder, and but it's not. This is not. Now Felder is right. Felder is right. I don't know why. Hang on a second. Yeah, it's Raheem Felder.
Oh boy,
Raheem Felder, point guard out of Brooklyn, New York.
Are we sure that's where he's from?
Yeah,
by way of Fort Mill.
He did spend a year. His mother was they were living in Fort Mill. Then she moved back to New York, and he went back to New York. The other commitment, I got this one right, Mike Kotsar. M-A-I-K, pronounced Mike. 6'9", from Estonia, goes to a school in Wichita. We're going to talk to his coach at the bottom of the hour, and we're going to talk to Felder at 7:30. Yeah. I apologize for those who've read that because
He
that's
played
not
at
correct.
Coney Island. Eh? Coney Island.
No, he played at Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah, in Coney Island.
Oh, is that on Coney Island?
Uh-huh.
Okay, very good. So we got that for you. And, of course, Clemson in football got a terrific commitment from highly regarded running back out of Memphis, Kadarian Richardson, and rushed for over 2,000 yards last year, supposedly a very good running back.
So Clemson is picking on UT's territory a lot this year.
They're looking to land 4 of the top players in Tennessee. They've already got Richardson, and they've got the wide receiver Rogers. They're looking to get T. Higgins, another wide receiver, and there's a big offensive lineman in Nashville that they are strong on.
People don't realize when you look at the SEC, with Clemson taking those players out of Tennessee, they're actually giving a blow to 2 SEC schools. Now, everybody mentions Vanderbilt, but let's take Vanderbilt out of the equation. You're going all the way to Memphis. That's in Ole Miss's back door. About an hour from Ole Miss?
It's pretty amazing. You know, coaches always say when a guy – you have to look at the schools they pass before they get to you.
Right.
I mean, look at – if you're driving from Memphis to Clemson, I mean, technically speaking, you're passing UT, you're passing Ole Miss, you're passing Tuscaloosa. Maybe you could say you're passing Auburn. You're passing a lot of big-time schools to get to Clemson. And for a commitment this early, I tell you, their recruiting pool right now is extremely strong. It is extremely strong. Jump to the phones here for a few minutes. 800-956-7266. Comment on all that. The baseball weekend series as well. NCAA basketball tournament coming up. Oh, congratulations to the USC women for their second straight SEC tournament title. The dynasty lives on in Columbia, and no end in sight. It's truly a dynasty that she is building there. There is no end in sight. Just got to get past Connecticut at some point in time.
Fiefdom up there in stores, and they had to break through.
All right, Tim and Gaffney, you're up first tonight here on Sports Talk. Good evening.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Good.
I got a couple of questions. One of them you've already answered. I was going to ask if y'all thought Carolina was going to be in the NCAA, even if it was to lose in the first round. And my other one is, do you think Clemson, if they lose in the first round of the ACC, they'll get to the NIT because they'll only put them at 17 and 14? And I know I think at least 4 of the conference jet number 1 seed has been lost in some of these, these smaller conferences. So those qualify for the NIT. So that's going to mean some of the bigger schools are going to be left out.
Yeah.
And then my last question is, Ben and Gaffney, never too early for football. I know the new region, the new 5A has came out and all, and I know I'm wondering how the playoffs are going to be set up on that. Is it going to be like 4 teams per region like they do now in basically 3A, and is there going to be 32 teams in it? Do you guys know anything how that's going to work? And I'll hang up and listen.
All right, thank you very much. We'll get to the last question in a moment. Let's go to the basketball side. Yeah, South Carolina now certainly has clinched a spot in the NCAA tournament with that win on the road and everything else with them. So they're going to be in. Clemson, if they lose, well, let's look at it this way. Let's think about this. They should beat Georgia Tech on Wednesday night. And then they get a game with Virginia. I think if they beat Georgia Tech, I think regardless of what happens with Virginia, that should get them in the NIT. Look, they had 10 ACC wins. Just in school history, 10 ACC wins.
4 top 25 wins.
I mean, they've got a good
Ron Secur's Arena is amiable to hosting NIT games.
Absolutely. So, yeah, I think if Clemson at least beats Georgia Tech, they'll be in the NIT. We'll tackle that other question in a moment. All right, we're back. 800-956-7266. I'm trying to look up some information on the question about the playoffs. I don't want to tackle that without being clear with what we're going to say. I think with the new 5-class alum, we're doing away. I don't want to say it until I can find out. Let me look up some information. I want to say I think they're doing away with the what they used to have with the point system and going with finishing in the top 3 or 4 in your region and that sort of thing. But I got to see if I can put my hands on some information about that because I just don't remember. They change it so much. It's hard to remember who's doing what. And keep in mind, each class, 5A, 4A, 3A, 2A, 1A, they can make up their own playoff rules. It's not the high school league that makes up a blanket rule for everybody. Each class can decide on their form of playoff. All right, we'll look that up and pass it along as soon as we can verify what we're talking about, which would be a nice change for us. Let's go back to the phones. Hank in Columbia, you're up next. Welcome into Sports Talk. How you doing?
Hey, Corn, how's it going?
Terrific.
You're not going to find that, Corn. They're not going to vote on that until they go to Charleston in a couple of weeks.
Well, thank you.
So, no need of you going to search and you're not going to find it.
But am I right? Am I right in thinking
Yeah.
that they're looking to do away with the point system and going with an arrangement of the top 2, top 3 or 4 and that sort of thing and wild cards and all that?
Yeah, they haven't decided on each class can decide on the amount of teams that are in the playoffs. All that will be voted on in Charleston. But they are looking at doing away with any type of point system. But none of that's decided, so they keep you from searching.
Thank you.
I was just calling you, Corn. I wanted you to get on the radio and tease the girls about the crowd and talk about their abilities, because it seems like if you talk about them and can't beat, that was the trigger that caused a lot of people a lot of misery in Jacksonville.
Yeah, it seemed like you ticked them off a little bit, and they said, "Okay, we'll show you."
Well, that was Andy Landers, I think.
And they kicked into high gear, right? I mean, they played great basketball those last 2 games.
Well, Kentucky was the hottest team. There's no doubt. They've won 8 in a row, and they were devouring people. And they figured, South Carolina's been showing up and just riding on talent. And then when Andy Landers and a couple of the other analysts on SEC Network got them riled up, in fact, they got Dawn Staley riled up. And they just turned loose.
Tiffany Mitchell played great, and I don't see. Let's face it, the parity in women's basketball there isn't. There's going to be a lot of weak teams that they'll be playing now in the opening stages of the tournament. Maybe when they get to the finals of the regional, it'll be a little tougher. Though it didn't prove to be too tough last year.
Yeah, Florida State and North Carolina pushed them a little bit in the Sweet 16 and the Elite 8.
Yeah. All right, well, we'll see what happens this year. I mean, they look to be a lock to get to Indianapolis, though, and maybe a lock to play UConn again, which would be a championship game. We'll be right back. welcome back on a radio network on a beautiful Monday afternoon, evening here in the Palmetto State. Phil Kornbluth, Professor Tom Hayes, and K-Mac Kevin McCrary. K-Mac will be hitting the road for D.C. tomorrow. You're going to go pay your respects to the president while you're there.
Sure.
Wish him a final
Always do that.
Goodbye.
Always do
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Go
I'll be
by.
heading to Nashville Thursday, so Pro will be here anchoring everything latter part of the week. So we'll have, of course, ACC and SEC coverage for you right here on Sports Talk. Great weekend for USC basketball on and off the court. Gamecocks get a huge win for them at Arkansas. Wrap up the number 3 seed for the SEC tournament. Wrap up a spot in the NCAA tournament, no doubt. And Frank Martin does a little recruiting. He picks up a point guard from New York and a big man from Estonia who goes to school in Wichita, Sunrise Christian Academy. His name is Mike Kotsar, and his coach is Kyle Bankhead. And Coach Bankhead joins us here on Sports Talk. Coach, how are you?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Good, sir. Good, sir. Thanks for joining us. All right. Well, tell us about Mike Kotsar, 6'9", 220. Some of the things you like about him as a basketball player.
I think the number one thing that comes to mind when we're talking about Mike is just his basketball IQ. He's got a great understanding of how to play, which in today's day and age, I feel like it's becoming harder and harder to come across kids like that. So he really knows how to play. He is a very good left-handed driver. I think he's going to be a great standstill three-point shooter. He's really good in the high post against zones. And he's a competitive kid. And when I felt like when he came over from Estonia, he wasn't the toughest kid in our program, but as time went, he really understood that that's something he had to get better at. He's arguably my toughest kid that I had in the program. I mean, never really had to worry about him. If he turned an ankle, he didn't complain. He'd just get back in the drill or whatever. I mean, he was a extremely tough kid, and he's one of those kids that is just an absolute joy to coach. He's one of those kids that you don't want to lose. You don't want to ever dismiss him from the program or watch him graduate or watch him move on. But I think South Carolina should be really excited about the kid they're going to be getting.
Now, does Martin want him as a guy that's going to stay out on the perimeter, or does he envision him as a guy that will play inside? And you talk about his physicality. Will he be able to help them inside?
You know, he's not a true 5-man. He's a true 4. So he's a face-up 4-man that will allow you to space the floor. He's got a great ability to put the ball on the deck and make plays for others. Probably my biggest thing was with him this year was A, toughness, and B, a lot of times he was a little too unselfish, which people that have dealt with international kids, that's a tendency with them. And as the year went, he became more aggressive, looking to score, which is what we wanted him to do. And I think that's why we saw his recruitment kind of spike up as time went. He became more of a scorer, more of an aggressive kid, and a tougher kid while he was at Sunrise. So he can go post if he maybe gets a smaller guy, but that's not his natural position. His natural position is playing on the perimeter as a 4-man.
Would you say he's a 4-man with 3-man skills, and when he faces a typical 4-man who's trying to defend him, he has the speed and the quickness and agility to go by him?
Yes, yeah. He can definitely put the ball on the deck, and he's going to have a great understanding of when to drive it and when to pass it and all that. If he's got a slow-footed guy on him, he is very capable of putting the ball on the deck and going by him. So,
well, the interesting thing now in basketball is the three-point shot has become such an integral part of all offenses. If he's on the perimeter at 6'9", how is he at chasing down rebounds out on the perimeter of three-point shots to kick out high?
Good. You know, in basketball, we always talk about a kid's motor. And if he's got a motor and he's got a ball, he'll be able to help in rebounding. And he has both. You know, he's a really smart kid, so he's got an understanding of, you know, possibly where the ball's going to be coming off at, and as well as, you know, he's got a motor. He puts a lot of effort into rebounding or really whatever you ask him to do. So he's not the, you know, unbelievable athlete, but he's going to get the job done. I mean, that's just what he does. He does whatever you ask him to do, and he'll get it done. So,
talking with Coach Kyle Bankhead from Sunrise Christian. Now, Coach Martin, the staff, if I remember correctly, their first recruiting class here when they signed Koshinus and Hakavicius, I think those two guys were at a school in Wichita too, correct?
I'm not 100% sure, to be honest. I've been out here since August. So
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure who they got or where they got them from, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think they were from another school in Wichita. I could look it up, but I think so. My point is, this is a recruiting territory that they are familiar with. How did the relationship between South Carolina and Mike blossom to the point where he was ready to commit?
You know, it's interesting. Well, Mike played really well. Was at the NPSI, which is National Prep School Invitational. And I think that's where he caught everybody's attention. And South Carolina really put a lot of effort into and made Mike a priority. Now, I don't know if you guys have ever spoken with Lamont, Coach Martin's staff. I actually played professional basketball with Lamont in Germany for, I don't know, maybe we were about a month and a half or 2 months together. And if you ask him, he'd probably say the same thing. It was an awful experience, but I had that connection with him. And it just kind of happened, you know. There's no real, recipe for it. It was just something that kind of transpired quickly. They got him out. Mike went out there and absolutely loved his time on the campus. Was really impressed. I think he saw the 2 international kids that are going to be graduating and how they were used in the system, and just fell in love with it and came back, talked to a couple people, and made the decision that that's the best fit for his future.
How much does he know about Martin's coaching style and just his way of talking to his players in practice and in games? I guess we could say. You know what I'm talking about.
Well, this is what I think. I've had the pleasure of meeting Coach Martin once, and I've seen him coach quite a bit. And you know, we're out here at Sunrise. We're not the easiest on our players as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but I think the biggest thing is if a kid knows you care about him, you can be on that kid as hard as you'd like to be. And I think every player that plays for Coach Martin knows that he has their best interest in heart and truly cares about. And I think Mike knows that. I mean, he had a good conversation with Coach Martin today, and it doesn't matter how hard you are on a kid. He knows you care about it and you're doing it for the best interest of the kid. So I think Mike is extremely tough, can take coaching, can take criticism, to where he could really play for anybody in the country.
How old is he? Is he an older guy, considering he's in a prep school?
Yeah, he's 19. So he's a post-grad kid. He might be 18. I can't even tell you his birthday, but he's an 18, 19-year-old kid. I mean, he's a little bit older, graduated high school. I'm the prep coach, which is all fifth-year kids on my team. So, yeah, he's a tad bit older, but, still considered a young man and a kid in my eyes. So.
Well, we look forward to seeing him here in Columbia. There'll be a spot for him, no doubt, with the guys that are leaving, and we'll see what he's able to do with the Gamecocks. And we thank you so much for your time, and congratulations on having one commit to South Carolina. We appreciate your time.
Yep, he's a good one. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Thank you, Coach. Coach Kyle Bankhead, Wichita, Kansas, Sunrise Christian. Tell you, if you just tuned in, you might have thought we were talking to Brad Brownell. Sounds very similar to Brad Brownell. But anyway, Mike, it's spelled M-A-I-K, but pronounced Mike. And he calls him Kotsar. That's how he pronounces the last name, K-O-T-S-A-R. So that alone is an improvement over Koshinus and Hakavicius. I have to say this, Lemonis, and I respect the heck out of Lemonis Hakavicius. Whatever. Because that guy has been ridden hard by Frank Martin. And, he left his mark, and he deserves all the credit, but I am not going to miss spelling that name in writing stories in coming years, because I could never spell it right twice in a row. And spell checker never got it right either. We'll be right back. Okay, we are back. It is Sports Talk presented by South Carolina's 529 College Savings Plan. Future Scholar is the smart way to save for a loved one's education. Tax time is a perfect time to invest. Visit futurescholar.com. Future Scholar is administered by the Office of State Treasurer Curtis Loftus. All right. Over the weekend, Clemson took it to South Carolina, taking 2 out of 3 from the Gamecocks, winning the series for the second consecutive year. For the first time in a long time, the Tigers have won back-to-back series in the rivalry, and they deserved it. They played better. They pitched better, got the timely hits. Statistics either way, not overwhelming. Clemson only hit 202 for the series, but they made their hits count. Their 18 hits resulted in 9 runs batted in. USC only hit 214 for the series. Actually had more hits, 21, than the Tigers did, but they used all their firepower on Friday night. Chad Holbrook, after the loss yesterday, having to deal with losing to the Tigers, losing the series for the second straight year.
You got to congratulate Clemson, and they outperformed us. They outpitched us in 1 run in the last 18 innings or so. I thought we had a better offensive team I think we have a better offensive team than what we showed the last 18 innings, but you have to give Clemson's pitchers credit. They kind of manhandled us a little bit there the last 18 innings, and that was disappointing from my end, but we'll have to regroup and go back to work.
Was it more their pitching or just
you
your hitters just didn't?
You got to give credit to the opponent, and they certainly threw strikes, worked ahead in the count, worked fast, and then we didn't make many adjustments on our end, and you combine those things, and you get a result like last 18 innings.
It hadn't been, earlier until this series, you were converting when you had men on base. You had a lot of men on base in the early part of this game.
We got some guys on base. A lot of those situations where we're 2 outs and nobody on them, we try to manufacture something. You got to get leadoff guys on base, and we got to get guys fight a little bit harder with nobody out in the inning and try to set the table for some of the other guys. Trying to do it all with 2 outs is asking a little bit too much, and we gotta get better at that. We got to get better with nobody out. We got to try to find a way to get on first base, set the table for some other guys and create some opportunities. We didn't have many opportunities. Certainly less than 2 outs. I don't think we had any. We manufactured a few with 2 outs, but give credit to Clemson. They played some beautiful baseball the last 18 innings. The way they pitched was extremely impressive.
How about your pitching on Saturday and Sunday, though? Even though you didn't have any runs, did you pitch well enough?
Our pitching kept us in the game. If you'd have told me today that you're gonna hold them to 4 runs, I'd have taken it, and said, hey, let's go see if we can score 5 and win. And so I give our pitchers kept us in the game, did all we asked them to do. I got some things I got to think about and decide upon in regards to how we go about some things from a lineup perspective, but and from and how we're going to set up our rotation. But the pitching wasn't the problem. Their pitching was our problem. They stuffed us pretty good, and we gotta regroup and go back to the drawing board a little bit and get a little bit tougher, compete a little bit harder in the batter's box.
A lot of people aren't expecting a lot out of this Clemson team this year. Could Monty have a better team maybe than people are thinking?
I think they're very good, and offensively they're very, very good. 1-9, and their pitching was very, very impressive. I thought maybe some of the preseason predictions were, they might be a little bit thin on the mound. I saw none of that. I was very impressed with their arms. I was very impressed with the guys they brought in the bullpen. You got to give them credit. They pitched very, very, very well, and they won the series. So you got to congratulate them. But no, they got a very, very, very good team. And offensively, they play defense. They're physical. They can hit the ball out of the ballpark. They got the makings of having a really, really good team.
You've been very pleased with team prior to this weekend, their character and their fight. Would this be a test for them? And do you have the guys to make it?
Very much so. Very much so. Listen, this is a weekend series in the first week of March, and while it's a bitter pill to swallow, it's I'm not ready to judge my guys' fight and character and tenacity and all that stuff based on the last 2 games. They've been great for me since August, and we got out of character a little bit the last 18 innings, and back to work.
Okay, Chad Holbrook, following the loss, we'll hear from Monty Lee coming up a little bit later on. USC pitcher Clark Schmitz, the SEC pitcher of the week. He was terrific on Friday night. He's 3-0 on the year now. And from Clemson, the Tigers also getting some accolades from the weekend. Alex Eubanks is the ACC pitcher of the week, and he was fabulous yesterday in his first career start for the Tigers. Clemson now breaking into the national rankings. We'll catch you up on all that. USC is still in the rankings, though they did drop after the weekend series loss. Back in a moment with recruiting. Okay, let's get to the recruiting talk on this Monday night edition of Sports Talk. Of course, basketball-wise, you heard the interview with the coach of the commitment for USC, Mike Kotsar, 6'9", from Estonia, out of Wichita, Kansas. Then last night, 6-foot point guard Rakeem Felder from Brooklyn was offered by Frank Martin, and quickly he committed. We're going to talk with him bottom of the next hour. He played his freshman year at Indian Land before moving back to New York City. He says he's a physical, hard-nosed, tough point guard. 16 points, 6 assists, 4 rebounds per game. More with him coming up in the next hour. Football, Clemson, running back Cordarian Richardson, 6 feet 220 of Memphis, committed to the Tigers. After going to their junior day Saturday, leaving on Sunday, he told us it was just a nice place to be around. He said everything stood out really. He's a man of few words, by the way. More yards than words with him in his career, I predict. And he said, as far as playing time goes, knowing Wayne Gallman will be leaving, but they'll still have some good running backs. But he said that they've told him, come on in, work hard, and we'll see what happens. About 2,400 yards for him last year, 12 touchdowns. He had 342 rushing yards in the state championship game. Some of his other offers that were on his short list: Tennessee, LSU, Auburn, Oklahoma, Alabama, Michigan State, and Florida State. That's 9 commitments for Clemson in the class. Lawrence offensive lineman Summy Carley has USC, NC State, Southern Miss, and Coastal Carolina FBS offers. He was at Clemson for junior day, did not get an offer, but the Tigers are showing interest in him, and he really enjoyed being there. So they answered a lot of questions, valuable insight. He met with several coaches, Caldwell and Brooks. He briefly spoke with Sweeney before Sweeney left to go to John McKissick's retirement event in Somerville. He said Clemson likes him enough to want him to come back for another visit and to come back for the spring game. And NC State wants him to come back up for a visit. He's coming back to South Carolina March 19th for a spring practice. He's been talking with Muschamp, Elliott, and Hutzler, and they're very interested in him. Of course, they have offered. And right now he's just taking it all in stride. Defensive end Trey Lawson of North Augusta, defensive back Lummy Young of Westside went to Clemson on Saturday. They were not offered by the Tigers. Lawson has USC, Southern Cal, Tennessee, Florida State, Illinois, Georgia, Ole Miss, and Kentucky. Would like to have had Clemson on the list, but it didn't come this time. He did not get a chance to talk to Dabo Swinney, but they did fill him in on their graduation rates and all that kind of stuff. And didn't really have an in-depth conversation with any of the coaches, he said. He's been to USC and Florida State. He's going to Tennessee this coming weekend. He plans to return to USC after week after next for spring practice. He talked to Muschamp on Friday, and his message was to him, he said, quote, stay cocky. He said USC and Florida State are the two standing out for him the most at this particular time. All right, we're going to hit a break here at the top of the hour, and we'll give you a little more recruiting coming up.
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornblum, Tom Hayes.
And we're back, Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network coming up. Clemson baseball coach Monty Lee will be with us here on the program. And the bottom of the hour, we're going to talk to one of USC's new basketball commitments, Rakeem Felter, point guard from Brooklyn, New York. And then we're going to bring you some Clemson basketball and maybe some football stuff as well if it becomes available to us this afternoon. I want to wrap up the recruiting report for the day. We had more stuff to get to before as we were hitting the top of the hour break. So on Sunday, yesterday, offensive lineman Eric Douglas. Oh, wait a minute. Let me go back here to Trey Lawson and Lummy Young. I forgot about that. So Lawson did not get an offer from Clemson, enjoyed his visit, talked with South Carolina. Muschamp told him to stay cocky. He said USC and Florida State are the two standing out the most with him right now based on the strength of their interest in him. He's expecting all of Tennessee's coaching staff to talk with him when he visits there on Saturday. Now, Young, who grew up a Clemson fan and a Clemson family, hopeful of a Clemson offer Saturday, did not happen. He said he had a great time. I love the football program. He's hopeful something will happen. They did seem interested. He has offers from Charlotte, Old Dominion, Coastal, and Miami, and USC. He plans to visit USC March 19th, North Carolina April 2nd, and Clemson for their spring game April 9th. Defensive end Tyreek Johnson of Lakewood, of course, a strong USC lean, and was planning to commit on Saturday on a visit, but the visit was postponed when the coaches told him that everybody was going to be away on spring break. And so not to come in this past Saturday, he's going to reschedule that visit, and everything still looks like a commitment to USC is forthcoming from him. Clemson USC are on the focus list of offensive lineman Eric Douglas of Charlotte, which he released Sunday. The others are North Carolina, NC State, Penn State, Florida, and Maryland. Clemson in the top 5 with defensive back Daniel Wright of Fort Lauderdale, along with Florida State, LSU, Miami, and Auburn. Receiver Keyshawn Johnson Jr. from Calabasas, California, was at a tournament in Las Vegas on Saturday. He plans to make his decision known sometime this month once his announcement video is complete. Before then, that's right, announcement video.
Oh, boy.
He's hoping to visit some of the top schools on his list: Clemson, Bama, Nebraska, Ohio State, Southern Cal, going to Nebraska this week. Defensive end KG Henry of Clemens, North Carolina, offered Saturday by Clemson. Clemson also Saturday offered linebacker James Houston IV of Plantation, Florida. And defensive end Stephon Wynn Jr. of TL Hanna. He's a 2018 guy, of course. Defensive end Logan Rudolph of Northwestern was offered Friday by Alabama. And receiver Ortre Smith of Wando has been to Georgia, Wake Forest, and NC State in recent weeks. He had the ACT Saturday, so he stayed home. Going to narrow his focus in the coming weeks. And today, Dutch Fork athlete Austin Connor was offered by Duke. Of course, he also has a USC offer. There you go with recruiting. Monty Lee coming up in a moment. Okay, we're back at Sports Talk here on a Monday night from downtown Columbia. Good to have you with us. A reminder from our friends at South Carolina Forestry, insects and diseases, they can be moved hundreds of miles in firewood and threaten our forests, favorite campsites, neighborhoods, state and national parks. Help protect the trees you love by purchasing For more information, visit .org. All right, big weekend for the Clemson baseball program under Monty Lee. His first go-round as the Tigers head coach in the series against the Gamecocks. He comes away a winner, 2-1, and Coach Lee joins us here on the program. Congratulations. Now, I mean, I know it's a long baseball season, but you know how big this series is. When you won it, was there sort of an exhale moment there for you where you can maybe?
Oh, absolutely. You know, anytime you win a series against a really good opponent, which South Carolina is, and we all know that it's a big weekend for both programs. And when you win it, you know, as a head coach, you're obviously elated and very happy for your team and what they were able to do. And you do get, you know, you do take a deep breath because, you know, it's a lot that goes into the series on both coaching staffs, a lot of preparation, a lot of work. And, you know, it was very gratifying for us, very excited for our team and what they were able to do. But we also know, as you said, Phil, it's very early in the season. We still have a lot of work to do. We still got to get better in a lot of areas. And we've got Winthrop on Wednesday, and we open up with ACC play this weekend. So we got to enjoy this past weekend, but we also need to move on from it and be ready to go. Be ready to go this week and be ready to go against Winthrop on Wednesday.
Well, let me ask you this now. You had the view of the series from a Gamecock uniform in a certain spot in the dugout and on the field, and now this weekend you had the view from the Clemson uniform in a certain spot. How were the views different in your roles in your career, once being a Gamecock and now being a Tiger?
Well, I think the biggest difference is you know, I'm a head coach and not an assistant coach. I think that, you know, it's just a different perspective altogether from the head coach's seat, you know, than it is maybe from an assistant coach's seat. And just trying to manage a whole ball club and is just a little bit different than, you know, my time at South Carolina as an assistant, where, you know, I was just really, you know, focused on the position players and the hitters and trying to get prepared for whoever we were facing on the mound that weekend. You know, and working for Coach Tanner, you know, Coach Tanner, you know, had a lot on his shoulders. Pretty much every game, you know, he treated every game as it was a big game. And so I think the biggest thing that you learn going from one side to the others, it was really more about being an assistant versus being a head coach. You realize as a head coach that, yeah, it's just a different feeling going into a series like this one, where there's a lot at stake and it's very important to both programs and to the state of South Carolina. And I wouldn't say, you know, that I felt a lot of pressure. I just, you know, you just understand how important it is, and you want to make sure that there's no stone unturned when it comes to the preparation for your ball club. So you have to look at everything as the head coach versus, you know, maybe just a few things as an assistant.
Talking with Monty Lee, of course, the view, obviously, when you're at Clemson and you beat South Carolina, now the view is much sweeter. I get that. When you look at the stats from the series, you only hit 202 as a team. They only hit 214. But you got 16 additional free passes via the walk and hit by pitch. Now, you probably know how many of those might have come around to score, et cetera, et cetera. How big were those free passes, the walks and the hit by pitch, combined with the hits you did get? How big were the free passes in helping you generate what offense you could, especially over the weekend?
It was really big. I mean, you look at the game on Saturday, you know, we won that game and scored 5 runs, but we had 10 free. So anytime you're getting 10 free passes in a ball game, you're probably going to score some runs. So we took advantage of some free passes. We had some walks in there and, you know, a couple of errors where we got on base and scored some runs because of that. So I think that, you know, the free passes is something that we definitely strive for. And it all starts with your offensive approach. You've got to have a good offensive approach, lay off pitches early in the count that aren't in your zone. And when you get to 2 strikes, you got to battle. And I think the biggest thing that helped us this weekend in the last 2 games, we're facing very, very good arms. I mean, Webb's going to be a very high draft pick. Widener's going to be a high draft pick next year as a junior. These guys have power arms. The big thing, if you look at the series offensively, we did a good job of hitting with 2 strikes in game 2 and 3. Oki's triple was a 2-strike hit. Pender had 2 hits with 2 strikes. Cox had the big hit center field to score 2 runs was a 2-strike hit. So, a lot of the hits that we had this weekend were 2-strike hits, and we were able to take some walks on Sunday with leadoff HBPs or walks, and that's big. That's what it takes when you're facing really good arms. You gotta try to be patient. When they're out of the zone, and when you get a pitch to hit, you better hit it because you may only get 1 at a bat. But I think our guys did a good job of staying within their approaches and get on base and scoring enough runs behind our pitch staff. Our pitch staff did an unbelievable job this weekend, and just very, very proud of our overall efforts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also the fact yesterday in particular, most of the time when the Gamecocks did get a base runner, it was with 2 outs. So, I mean, you did a nice job in the early half of an inning of keeping them off the bases.
No doubt about it. And one of the keys for us, we scored in the 4 runs that we scored, we got the leadoff guy on base in the 3rd and the 4th. We got the leadoff guy on base in the 3rd with a hit by pitch. We got a leadoff guy on base in the 4th with a walk. So, I think that's right. I'm out recruiting, so I'm actually watching a game. It's a big part of our offense. Leadoff on base is a huge for your offense, and we were able to get Eubanks and Bostic. The key for us in game 3 was 8 out of the 9 innings, the leadoff guy did not reach base. They only had 1 inning where they reached where the leadoff guy got on base. So anytime you're getting 8 out of 9 guys out as leadoff hitters, you're going to minimize your damage. It's hard to score multiple runs in an inning when you get the leadoff guy out.
Well, I tell you what, everybody involved is to be thanked for a great weekend from Clemson to USC to Greenville. You had a sellout at USC, which would equate to a record crowd. They've already set the record, so they can't do any more. You had a record crowd. Greenville had a record crowd. Everybody was well behaved. We had no controversy. Very little barking at the umpires. Maybe the catcher interference call on Friday night might have been the one thing that we could see that was questioned. It was a very calm weekend.
Well, I think when you've got 2 teams that, obviously it's a rivalry weekend, but there's respect for each other. I think that's the big thing. We know how good a club South Carolina has, and we respect them as a program, and I think it's vice versa. And even though when the first pitch is thrown, we want to beat each other's brains out. We both understand that, but we have a respect for each other, and I think we want to play the game the right way. We want it to be about the game, what goes on between the lines, and there was no issues. I mean, I thought, the umpires did a good job, and, it was up to the players. I think that's all you can ask for is just leave it up to the players on the field to decide who wins and loses the ball game and do it the right way. And I think both programs do it the right way.
Okay. Seth Beer going to play Wednesday night?
Yep. We feel like he's going to be fine. He had to get 3 stitches in his cheek, but we feel like he's going to be good to go on Wednesday.
All right, sir. Coach, we thank you. Congratulations on a terrific series victory over the weekend. Good luck to you this week coming, and we'll be back in touch.
All righty. Thanks for having me on as always, Phil.
You got it, sir. Monty Lee, coach of the Clemson baseball team, and Tigers flying high right now with the series win over South Carolina. They've got Winthrop Wednesday and then Wake Forest this weekend. USC's got 5 games this week, all outside the SEC. So a chance for them to get happy again before they get into SEC play weekend after next. And question marks will stay out there about the Gamecocks because after watching them over the weekend, they did not show that they could hit really good pitching, even though they hit the ball pretty well on Friday night. Nothing over the weekend. Be right back. All right, thanks to Monty Lee for joining us here on Sports Talk tonight. He's out recruiting, and it's one of the things they really liked about him when they hired him, his ability to go out and recruit and bring in good players and continue to build that program and keep it performing at a high level. Clemson basketball, the ACC coaches all-ACC team today, and Jerron Blossom game named to the first team along with Bryce Johnson, Malcolm Brogdon, Grayson Allen, and Kat Barber. And the all-ACC defensive team includes Clemson's Landry Noko, Brogdon Player of the Year, Brandon Ingram Freshman of the Year, Jim Larinaga Coach of the Year, Brogdon Defensive Player of the Year, Blossom game, and Grayson Allen Most Improved Players, Isaiah Hicks of North Carolina, the Sixth Man of the Year. Tigers preparing to play Georgia Tech in the ACC opener. Coach Brad Brownell today with the media previewing the ACC.
Stretch. Well, really proud of him. Jerron had an outstanding season. As much as the 20 points, it was how efficient he was in getting 50% shooter from the field, 40% from three, 75 plus from the line. He really improved this year. We knew he was going to take a big step, and I'm just happy for him because I already worked at it.
Were you surprised at how big the step was? Over 5 points a game, really just became the absolute unquestioned leader of this basketball.
No, we knew that he was going to be, our leading scorer, and certainly planned accordingly. And I was maybe pleasantly surprised he was efficient in shooting from three as he was. I knew he would make improvements in that area, and I saw the improvements all fall when I was watching him shoot. But to do it in ACC play, again, speaks to the quality of his play. He played at an unbelievably high level.
What about playing Georgia Tech third time in a month? You're that familiar with an opponent that just plays with no surprise?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's, players make plays in these kinds of games. Both coaching staff will have their teams ready. Kind of know what you're going to get. Guys just got to go out and execute. You got to be a little bit more mentally tough than we've been in a couple games on the road and lost a couple leads. We didn't finish things the way we can. I think we offensively, we played pretty well throughout most of the ACC season. I think our guys played with pretty good confidence. We're still looking for a little bit more consistency in the second and third score every once in a while, but I like the way we're playing. And confident our guys will be excited and ready to play well.
Coach George Hunt had one of his best games against you in Atlanta. What can you do to try to limit it?
He's a hard matchup. We have smaller guards, and they've taken one of their smaller guards out of the lineup, and they're playing him at the point now, and so we've got to figure out ways to counteract that. Adam Smith is an outstanding shooter. We've got good post players that are older and big-bodied and can score inside. They're a talented offensive team because they have a lot of different weapons. You can't just focus on one. Certainly, he is a matchup problem for us.
All right, Brad Brownell from his meeting with the media today, heading into the ACC tournament for the Tigers. They take on Georgia Tech. Lost to Georgia Tech in Atlanta just a couple of weeks ago, 75-73. Beat Georgia Tech at Clemson earlier in the season when they really clamped down on the Yellow Jackets defensively in the second half and won that game 66-52. We'll be right back. Our poll question this week on our website, sportstalksc.com, should Frank Martin be the SEC Coach of the Year? So far, 75% say yes, 25% say no. I would imagine it'll come down to Martin and Gillespie at A&M. You know, the curse of Kentucky is you got so much talent, they don't believe you can coach. But, hey.
You're talking about the old coach. It's not Gillespie anymore.
At Texas A&M. It's Billy Gillespie, isn't it?
No, Billy Gillespie was the guy that left A&M, went to Kentucky,
Then
got fired.
Had his resume on a cocktail now.
Who's at A&M? Who's at A&M?
Turgeon. No, that's a Maryland coach.
Come on, people. We're supposed to know this.
You put it. It's on the tip of my tongue.
When did you say it was? Because he is the most forgettable guy in the league. You don't even know he's breathing.
Well, then he's not going to be Coach of the Year. There's some Google. Yeah, Billy Kennedy.
Yeah, you said Kennedy.
That was my second. That was my second choice. Yeah. All right, not Gillespie, Kennedy, whoever. Anyway, could be him. Maybe should be him since they won a tie for the championship. But anyway, I think Frank Martin will get a lot of votes because he's done a great job this year with the Gamecocks.
The press said South Carolina would finish 7th.
Mm-hmm.
A&M was 1 or 2 in most polls.
Mm-hmm.
So they're where that people thought they would be.
Mm-hmm.
South Carolina is nowhere near where most people thought they would be.
Let's get the opinion of our next guest, if he has one. He is Rakeem Felder, point guard, who came to Frank Martin last night to be a part of the Gamecocks 2016 class. Rakeem, how you doing?
I'm doing good, sir. How you doing?
We're good. You think Frank Martin should be SEC Coach of the Year?
Of course. Look at the tremendous job he has done with the team this year, being a new coach, allowing play to go in and thriving.
Yeah. What do you like about the style of play, and what attracted you to Coach Martin into South Carolina?
Just how hard they play in and day out. That just attracted me the most. Just they give it their all every night. So that
Do you like his style of coaching? Do you like his strong-minded personality and the way that comes across with the players?
Yes, well, definitely for me being a point guard, I know that I would be a second coach on the floor, and I just would just draw from his energy that he brings to the table. Like, it makes you actually want to go out there and do the best you can.
Mm-hmm.
And I see it from watching TV. It just motivates me. It just, I don't know, just something about him that just makes you want to play for him 100%.
Yeah. He doesn't intimidate you?
No, not at all. Not at all. I love his coaching staff.
Yeah. When did the relationship between you and the Gamecocks begin to develop?
A few weeks ago. That's a few weeks ago. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They came up to see you, or how did it start?
It just Coach Figure. He came up to see me practice at our school at Abraham Lincoln, and he just said he fell in love with my game. And just this was my first, big time college on me. Like, just actually loving the way I played, my attitude, my hustle, my everything that I leave on the floor. So we just built from there on. We just been texting, and Coach Martin been texting me, just having great conversations.
And what have the coaches told you that they like about in your game that will fit in with what they like to do?
Just my toughness and the way I go after it.
Very physical point guard?
Yeah, physical point guard. My floor general, my teammates involved, just being a good player.
Are you left-handed?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I thought I was looking at some pictures of you, and I thought so. Yeah.
Yeah, I was about to ask you that question. Does it take defenses a little while to adjust in offense, maybe starting from maybe where you're comfortable on the left side of the lane? Do you find it being left-handed is an advantage?
Yeah, I find it as an advantage because all defensive players just think everybody's just a righty just because. And me being left-handed and my killer crossover, it just allows me to dictate and penetrate the defense and just read situations.
What's the best part of your game? I mean, do you see yourself as a scoring point guard, or do you think first assist and let me be the distributor and run the offense like a quarterback?
Honestly, it's just whatever the coach wants me to, whatever the task is. It's all up to like what I could adapt to any coach and play the game of basketball. Basketball is, basketball. I've been playing it for a long time, so pretty good at it.
Now, you played your freshman year at Indian Land over in Fort Mill. I got to ask you, what's the difference? I mean, what's the difference between like living in Indian Land in Fort Mill and living in Brooklyn? Is there a big difference?
Indian Land is like more, slow pace, and
yeah,
I wasn't getting the best competition that I thought I should be getting, so that's why I made the move to New York. Just a fast-paced game. A lot on your back, and then I just like taking on challenges. I said, and just
no subways, no subways in Fort Mill either.
No way to go. No way to travel.
Everything is by foot or by bike, I would imagine. Now, is your season complete, or do y'all have postseason coming up?
We have a city championship game, final game coming up Saturday in Madison Square Garden at 12 noon.
That's big time. Now, I know in New York City, and your school, Lincoln, I mean, you guys are one of the top programs in the city, right? And you're always kind of in there battling for the city championship.
Yes, sir. That's another reason why I came up here. Just wanted to win,
Yeah. What's it like playing that New York City inner city grind of basketball, and especially getting into the tournament and getting to into the city championship?
It's just tough. Being that you're from Lincoln, that where a lot of legendary players come from out of New York, it just makes you want to be better than what they were and accomplish what they didn't accomplish, or just win.
Yeah,
bring more chips.
Will they fill it up? Will they fill up Madison Square Garden for the city?
Definitely biggest game in the state.
Who y'all playing?
Thomas Jefferson. They got a St. John signee, Shamari Pons, a good friend of mine. So it's a big game.
Lincoln against Jefferson. Yep. Historically speaking, that would have been a pretty good battle back in the day. Well, listen, congratulations again on your commitment to South Carolina. You'll sign with them next month, and look forward to seeing you down here with the Gamecocks and next season, and following your career with them for the next 4 years.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
You got it. Thanks for being with us. All right, Rakeem Felder, 6 feet 190 from Brooklyn. I just romanticize about high school basketball in the city of New York and how big that is and how tough those players are coming out of the city.
Well, that's because the games on the playgrounds are tougher than the ones they play on the high school court.
Yeah, there's some guys on those blacktops that are good enough to be in the NBA.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. What's that park in New York where they have the tournament? The outside.
Rucker.
Yeah, that's it. Rucker. Yeah. I'd like to take my game up there one day.
Yeah,
to see
you
how
should.
it would.
I think
boy,
absolutely
I don't
should
think you make the cut.
I don't think there's any question that that's a good idea.
I have been. No,
they haven't seen a 3-point shooter like me up there.
I would not doubt that.
It's funny, I remember being
Pure.
13 or 14 years old, and guys, you go to a court like in the Bronx, and they audition guys. He said, "Look, all I need out of one of you little guys is throw the alley-oop pass. Throw it up there, I'll grab it."
Look, I grew up on the outdoor courts of Latta. Okay, so I think we
all of Latta was outdoor court.
We compare very favorably to the outdoor courts of New York City, no doubt about it. All right, thank you, Rakeem Felder. Little Clemson football spring practice coming up. All right, back we are. Sports Talk brought to you by South Carolina's 529 College Savings Plan. Future Scholars, the smart way to save for a loved one's education. Tax time is a perfect time to invest. Visit futurescholar.com. Future Scholar is administered by the Office of State Treasurer Curtis Loftus. Clemson football back on the practice field today. Last practice before one more on Wednesday. And then they'll break for a spring break and come back on March 21st. So far, everything seems to be going swimmingly well for the Tiger football team. No major injuries to report. Everybody seems to be upbeat, apparently getting their work done, kind of forgetting about what they did in 2015 and getting ready for 2016. And here is one of Sports Talk's all-time favorite Tigers, Ben Boulware, as he talked with the media after practice about getting the defense ready, forgetting about some of the guys that have left, and working with the guys who are back.
I mean, really the same as last year. I mean, it's kind of the same MO we had coming into the season last year. Lost a bunch of guys. How are we going to reload? How are we going to rebuild? We finished top 10 in the country, so it's kind of the same thing as the team last year.
You talked last year about Chad asking so many questions, but yet I watched you out here the other day. You were being the leader. You were showing guys how to line up, showing Trey, showing Shaq, this is how you go through the drill. Is that a big difference for you that, you know, you're now the old man in the group?
I mean, last year I felt like I was definitely in a leadership position. I think a lot of our guys kind of knew what they were doing and had a good foundation football-wise. But we got two new guys with Shaq and Trey, a bunch of new walk-ons. So I'm really like I'm still in a leadership position, but I'm having to teach them like from the ground up. So that's really just a new thing, just kind of showing guys where to go, how to line up, what to key. So it's definitely a kind of new, kind of in the same role, but just kind of a larger role within that leadership position.
What are your thoughts on Shaq and Trey so far?
I mean, I think they got a lot to learn, but I think they're different from a lot of guys because they look like 25-year-old men. They're already grown. They've already grown in their bodies, 3'6", 4. So they don't really have a maturation process to go along with their physical or their bodies. So their main thing is just kind of get right mentally, learn their formations, learn their keys, learn the plays. So they kind of they're already a step ahead of a lot of guys. They do have a lot to learn, but we'll see coming in the spring how far along that game.
What about Chad? How has he progressed after taking a redshirt year?
He's gotten bigger. He's definitely a lot more physical. He's kind of growing into his body. He's learning a lot of new things mentally. He's learning the playbook. He's reacting quicker. He's knowing his keys, his formations. So he's definitely grown in a lot of areas. I think with everybody, me included, there's a lot to learn. That month and a half off, you retain most of the information, but you still lose it just after that month. So I think everybody included, there's a lot for us to learn and grow in.
Do you and Kendall have a good rapport? Do you work well together?
Yeah, I think from working out together for the past 5 or 6 years since before Clemson, we kind of grew close as guys off the field, just as friends. So I think we meshed pretty well, just like me and BJ did last year. So I think it's kind of the same thing as last year. I think me and BJ meshed pretty well, and me and Kendall are doing a good job gelling and stuff.
Speaking of BJ, how much are you going to miss him, and you think Dorian's ready to take that next step as a starter next season?
I mean, I think Dorian's been ready. He just had to do his time and just be patient. Same thing with me my first 2 years. You just have to do your time, keep working, and just be patient when the role gets in front of you. So I think he's been ready for a long time. Now that his opportunity's here, I think he's definitely going to make the most out of
it. Coach Venables, does he embrace this challenge of, everybody says, hey, they're going to be bad. It's the same thing as last year. Do you see that in him, that he embraces this?
I mean, I think definitely. If you're a competitor, you embrace this. So I think anybody on the staff would love the challenge and bring a completely new set of guys each year, especially Coach V. He's wired every day. He loves to compete. He loves to be the best. So I think he definitely, him more than anybody, will enjoy this challenge. So.
All right, there you go. Ben Boulware talking to the Clemson reporters up there after practice today. And a couple of notes here I wanted to pass along. The Orange Bowl announced today that its game this year will be on Friday, December 30th, in an exclusive primetime window on ESPN. Exact kickoff time to be announced later. And the semifinals to the college football playoff this year on New Year's Eve are going to move up an hour, 3 o'clock and 7 o'clock on New Year's Eve. Clemson fans, make your plans accordingly.
Yeah.
Atlanta at 3 in the afternoon, probably, if you make it that far, which you should.
They're doing
Again.
the New Year's Eve thing again?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're going down with the ship, college football.
It's silly.
Ridiculous.
All right, we'll be right back. All right, K-Max, we got some stuff here on Twitter.
Let's do a little Twitter time. Why not? At Sports Talk SC. Brian at DixieDog72 wants to know who the heavy breather on the Bullware interview was. It's a good question. There was
somebody breathing heavily. I hate to say, those Clemson guys up there, they get a little excited around the football players and coaches, and I think their heart rates go up a little bit.
Ben Bullware.
Let's see, Brian here. We won't give his last name because he's a personality. He's a public figure. Should be talking about the poll question. Frank Martin for SEC Coach of the Year. He says, hard to ignore Billy Kennedy's job to win SEC title. This is true. Tracy says yes to the question. It should be Frank Martin. What else? What else we got here? K-Mac, anything else?
That's pretty much
it, huh?
Well, again, as I said, usually when you look at Coach of the Year, a lot of times, not every time, but a lot of times it's based on expectations. Texas A&M was expected to be 1, 2, or 3 this year. For those who thought third, they would have been behind it. Vandy, of course, stumbled out of the gate. But South Carolina was picked by 7th or 8th by most people. So they overachieved while A&M was right where you thought they would be.
Comment here on Twitter. Somebody asked why South Carolina targeted a point guard with Dozier, Thornwell, and Stroman back. And I responded that, well, you want to take a good point guard in every class. It's sort of like a quarterback. Yes. You always want to have a good point guard. And Dr. Gamecock, who that's not Rick Sanford, I don't think, just goes by Dr. Gamecock. He says, and point guard play has been awful. I'd slide Dozier over to more of a Thornwell role going forward. I don't know. I think Dozier is a point guard, got a point guard mentality.
Well,
has grown up with the ball in his hands.
He's going to be fine in the.
He's just a freshman doing some freshman
here's
things.
The deal about people in college point guards. They get a vision of a water bug that drives under people and flies up the court.
Got to interrupt you. We're running out of time. I got to interrupt you. We got
Go
some
ahead.
breaking news here from the state. They have offered Frank Martin. USC has, according to the state, waiting for it to load here. South Carolina offers. Come on, this thing. Is this somebody's computer is very slow, either ours or theirs. South Carolina offers. I'm waiting for it to come up here. Let me refresh.
Well, you
Maybe
knew they
it'll
were
come
going
up
to
faster.
offer it because these guys wouldn't be committing if the guy had 2 years left on his contract. So you knew it was just a matter of them when they get the contract done.
Still waiting for this thing to load.
Frank Martin's going to get a new contract.
Here we go. Here we go. South Carolina offers Frank Martin a contract extension. New deal would lock up Martin through 2022. That's just the headline there. The state has the story. David Cloninger does, so you can go read it there. And we will hear from Frank Martin tomorrow. He's going to talk with the media, so we'll bring that to you. 4 years added to keep Martin through 2022. Thank you, everybody. Have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow.